was like a big brand in the industry. And I remember him coming up to me and being like, cool. You better watch yourself. And I'm like, what? I don't know if I've told you this story or not, but the very first show that I ever went to, like a fitness bodybuilding show or whatever in London. Did I ever tell you about this story?
No, never.
So it was my very first booth, and the brand wasn't called Canadian Protein at the time. It was called True Supplements. Did I ever tell you that? I never told you this.
This is like 2007, 2008 or so?
Oh, this is very early on. This is so early. It's actually kind of crazy. So I went there. It was in London. And I went there, and I had some of my products on display. I had like my website. I had like a banner with the website up behind the booth, or maybe in front of the table. I don't even remember. And I didn't have like this elaborate display. And I remember at that point in time, like some of these guys had like these crazy slushy machines making protein shakes and making drinks, and there was like people dancing. It was like, so here I am, like this little booth, right? And I remember, like, working the booth, and I think I had shakers that I was, like, mixing up samples with in like, little Dixie cups for people or whatever. People were liking it, I wasn't, like, the craziest booth or anything, but, it was fine. And I remember this motherfucker coming up to me. I never told you this?
Never.
Okay.
Literally never.
I remember this one guy. He was from another brand, and I'm not going to name the brand, but he was a big brand. It was, like, a big brand in the industry. And I remember him coming up to me and being like, cool. You better watch yourself. And I'm like, what? He's like, you better watch what you're doing here. And I was like, well, what do you mean? What is that? Like, are you threatening me? It was like I didn't ask him that, but all I said was like, what do you mean? But in my head, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, number one, I'm not exactly the type of person that if you come up to me and... Like, I'm not a non-confrontational guy. I will engage. Not maybe in that scenario, but, like, what are you doing here? Yeah. It was a really weird situation. And I asked him, I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? And he's like, you're swimming in a sea of sharks right now. And he's like, I don't know who you think you are, but you better be careful. So I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And he was with a really big brand. And what's really funny about that, a really big brand at the time, what's funny about that is we have 1,000,000%. How can I explain this? Dwarfed these guys at this point now. And it's funny how people will approach these kind of scenarios and these other people with arrogance, not understanding who they're talking to. And then one of the reasons why we just did a video with Lamborghini versus Ferrari, the reason why that story relates so much to me, the Lamborghini versus Ferrari story, is because of this guy's audacity and arrogance to come up to me and say that shit.
Yeah.
And I have never forgotten that. And all I did in that time was I need to take these guys out. And like what a feeling that was. In the very beginning, I think at that point in time, I was making product in my basement. And here's this one guy that comes up to me, and I'm pretty sure he was the owner of the company. He comes up to me, and he comes and tells me that kind of shit. And here I am, the newbie. But what I did realize in that point in time was I've got their attention. They feel threatened.
You're onto something.
I'm onto something. The reason why that was such a big deal to me as well was because I actually recognized that guy from being the owner of a company, from being online or on, I think it was like on Facebook at the time or whatever. That guy was known in the industry as, you know, a juggernaut type of
big player.
He was a player. Yeah, he was a player in the supplement world. So I remember that being such a big deal. But I also remember in my mind after he said that shit, fuck you, buddy. I'm fucking coming at you. Like, you're not going to stop me, number one. And then number two, you have no idea the fire you just fueled here.